YouTube, welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Good to see everybody. Hope everyone's doing fantastic. Today's video is about coding. So I'm going to use my BMW M4 as my test subject, and I'm going to show you a number of features that I decided to engage or disengage, different than what the manufacturer had allowed when my vehicle left the assembly plant. Now, before you get into coding for yourself, do your research. I did a lot of research before I made a purchase and decided what software and module I was going to use to talk to the car and make some adjustments. So do your due diligence and check that out. But without further ado, I don't like doing anything on my vehicle till it's clean. So we're going to park it and we're going to wash it, and then we're going to get into coding. Alright, so first thing we want to do is go to the Bimmercode website, and on the landing page you can see there's a link to the App Store, to the Google Play Store, and you can read the reviews and look at some screenshots of what you'll be getting into. But first, what I want to do is go to the top and go to supported cars, and we will select the right manufacturer. So you can see BMW, Mini, Toyota, we have a BMW, we have an M4, and you can see there's a big list here of compatible BMWs, so that's cool. Click on M4 and then confirm the series. So mine's an F82. Click on that and it says your car is supported, so that's good. And then we click on supported coding options, and we can see a long list of different options that we can look at turning on or perhaps turning off or adjusting. Now, that being said, not every adjustment here will be available on your vehicle, and I'll give you an example. So if you didn't have a heads-up display option when your car left the factory or didn't have the hardware for it, coding it to be turned on isn't going to do anything because the hardware is not there to take that adjustment. So headlight cleaning I can't do on my car because I don't have the headlight cleaners in my front bumper. Not a big deal, but I just can't adjust that. There's a lot of things here that I can, and I'll show you some of those. But before I can do any of this, I need to be able to have the software communicate with the car. So we need an OBD2 adapter. So at the top of the page, we click on that link, and you can see a number of compatible scanners here. When I purchased mine, I looked at the VeePeak OBD check BLE Bluetooth. Now there's a BLE Plus available. That wasn't available when I got mine. This one's just probably faster. I had to pick this one because when I go to click buy, this is the only one available in Canada. And I assume, yep, the new one too. But any of these others are not available in Canada, at least recommended off their website. So when I go to click on buy and pick the Canada site, it will take me to here. So I already purchased this on April 2nd, 2020 off Amazon.ca, and you know, they do a good job of letting you know everything that it does. And in true Amazon fashion, it was here in pretty remarkable time. So let's have a closer look. Okay, so this is the box that it comes in. Pretty straightforward. Comes in a nice carry case. I've never seen this before from any scanner that I've got in the past, and I've got a couple Bluetooth ones. It's in a nice protective foam right there. This is the unit here. For sub $50, I think it's a tremendous value. And my hat's off to VeePeak. I have to say, this documentation that comes with it, I dismissed it at first and didn't really look at it, but it's actually all English and it's all very useful. It tells you pretty much everything you need to know without having to go online and figure it out yourself or check out forums and that type of thing. So let's plug it in and we'll get Bimmercode launched up and we'll have a look. Okay, in this series of BMW, you can see our port is right up here. Just like that. We got a light, so that way we know it's getting power. All right, now for those of you that are using iPhone or an iOS device, like maybe an iPad, you do not need to go into your settings and try to connect to the Bluetooth device. You can go there just to make sure it shows up. But I made the mistake of trying to connect there and it wasn't having it. It was saying it wasn't compatible or some error message like that. Then you just open up the Bimmercode app and voila, it'll find it on its own and connect to it. And I'll show you some screenshots as I talk you through what I decided to code and not to code, and I'll give you some examples along the way. Okay, we're gonna look at the Bimmercode app, but we're gonna put it in demo mode because it interfaces much quicker because it's just a simulation. We're not waiting, 1 minute to talk to the scanner, wait another minute for it to code and that type of thing. So essentially it's going to look the same as this, maybe a couple more options depending on your vehicle. We'll go to head unit just for an example. Let's say we want to change the sound of an incoming phone call. So if I go to ringtone here, right now it's at the default BMW ringtone, but maybe when the phone rings, I want it to have the sound that a Mini makes, or the smartphone setting here. I don't know what all these sound like. You'd have to, play around with them to figure that out. But let's say I wanted to go with the Mini ringtone. I would just go back. I would hit code, and if this was the real version of the app or running, properly connected to the car, it would actually give a progress bar here. Probably take a minute, code it. There might be an error message that appears on the instrument cluster, but it'll clear that error message right away, and then you'll enjoy the new coding. The good news too is you can go down to the bottom right here where it says backups, click on that, and had we coded something, it would have a list of it here. You can open that backup up and go back or revert to what you had before. So that's why it is suggested that whenever you're doing coding, just code one thing at a time, and that way it's easy to change that one thing back. But you can go ahead and code 8 or 9 things at once if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend that. And then lastly, there's expert mode here. This is where you'd want to spend a lot of times on the forums, because some people have gone deep and they've found out ways of making lots of adjustments within some of the options that I've shown you or that I talk about in the following clips. However, it can get very, very technical. So I would recommend going on forums. You can get lists that are already prepared that show all the steps that you would have to take in expert mode, and you can see there's a lot here. It'll tell you what to have each setting at to get your achieved result. So in most cases, most people aren't going to go there. I bought this app so I could just do the regular coding, but it's nice to know that if I ever wanted to do something else in expert mode, I have that option, and again, I could undo it with a backup. So I'm just going to discard changes, but let's have a look at the following clips and I'll tell you why I coded some things the way that I did. Folding mirrors on lock and unlock, that's a feature that you can enable with coding. It's pretty cool. What I also liked was the ability to change the acoustical confirmation. So that's essentially making the chirp when you lock or unlock the car much quieter than what's set from factory. You can also change the tone, which I never played around with. I just made it quieter for now. Might be a little too quiet, but at least it's not obnoxious and it doesn't look like I'm showing off when I lock or unlock the vehicle. The next one, so decouple the ambient lighting. So before, when you wanted to dim the ambient lighting in the car, you'd use the roller on the dash, and that would allow you to achieve that. Problem was, when I had the ambient lighting up as high as possible, the doors were quite dim. So you can decouple them. So the doors you can set to 80%, 100%, whatever you want. And then when you adjust the roller knob on the dash to adjust the ambient lighting, it's only going to do the instrument cluster and the radio and that type of thing, and it's going to leave the doors alone because they're decoupled. So the angel eyes brightness, so BMW's trademark angel eyes, the LEDs surrounding the headlights, you can make them full brightness or not. That's pretty self-explanatory. The BMW warning chime. So I decided to change mine to the i8 warning chime, which is less annoying, even though all warning chimes are annoying. So it has a little bit of a futuristic sound. One thing that was driving me crazy is I park my vehicle in the garage all the time, so I don't necessarily lock it every time that I get out of it. And the factory setting was to have the iDrive system, so your radio or your music from your phone, whatever you're playing, would stay on for minutes until it would finally shut off, something like 8 minutes. I don't know exactly what it was. So now I have it set that when I open the driver's door and the vehicle is off, all of that shuts down. So that's how I want it, that's how I prefer it. I don't want music playing from my car 5 minutes after I walk away. Coding the brake force display. So essentially here what you're doing is you're making your taillights behave like a race car. So if you're going the appropriate speed and you slam on the brakes, your taillights, including the window taillight, is going to flash either 3 times a second, 5 times a second, or light up the whole surround of the taillight. There's really a few options you can configure here. I think why I did it was just because of something different, and then if somebody is like close behind me when they shouldn't be that close and I have to slam on the brakes, hopefully that little extra flashing gets their attention and they don't slam into me. One of my favorite is the convenience feature of having my windows roll down or roll up when I hold down the unlock or lock button. What's cool about this is if I am wanting to unroll the windows, for example, I just hold down the unlock button, and then a couple seconds after the vehicle unlocks, as long as I'm still holding down the button, the windows will roll down until I let go. So if I only want them to roll down halfway, then I just let go when I see them at halfway. And the same goes for locking it. You lock the car, keep holding the button down. A couple seconds later, the windows will roll up and they'll stop when they get to the top, or if you let go of the button, they'll stop part way. Daytime running light brightness, I wanted to set to 100%, so I made sure that was coded in. Just to play around in the instrument cluster, you can change basically what vehicle it says that it is just in the instrument cluster. So you could have it say M4, M3, M2. I changed it to GTS just for fun to show you, and change it back to M4. I turned off all my on-screen warnings for the nag screen when you first start the car and it says, be careful and don't look at the screen when you drive, it's a distraction. I turned that off. Video in motion, so you can have a DVD playing in your car, or you can have a USB playing in your car, but as soon as you go to drive, your screen is blocked out because it doesn't want you distracted by watching videos. So video in motion basically allows you to tell the car that you want it to work regardless of the vehicle's state. All right, today's video has come to an end. If you like that video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing. It's absolutely free. Obviously, it's YouTube. I'd appreciate the support, and we'll catch you on the next one.